We are nearing the end of the 2-week program at the Women's Therapy Center, and we requested to have this video made to encourage other couples who are going through the condition of vaginismus. My name is Sarah, and this is my husband Dustin. We have been married for 3 years and have finally been able to consummate our marriage through this program. And so God has led us here through our process, and I just wanted to share a little bit about our journey with you in hopes to encourage you and to relate with you. So I saved myself for marriage, as I've heard many others have, and so I didn't find out that this was going to be an issue until my wedding night. And you know, sex is such a natural thing that God created our bodies to do. And so it was very confusing to us why we couldn't make that happen. And we had fear for our future, and the more we tried and failed, the lower my self-esteem would get, and it was just an emotional roller coaster for me, and depression for him. And so we went through a lot of emotional and physical hardship through this journey. I wasn't diagnosed till a year after being married, and in fact, I researched it and diagnosed myself and had to tell the doctor about it. I really felt like an experiment because everybody I went to had only heard of it once or twice, but didn't really know how to treat it. So they were like, try this, try that, maybe you'll be cured in a few months or a year, and we just didn't feel like we had that time. And so this is obviously a very intimate subject and hard to reach out to other people about, you know, trying to figure out what do I say, how do I approach it type of thing. And so we were faithful churchgoers, and Dustin was on staff at a church at the time, and so we felt that we really needed to go to the ministry staff for encouragement and prayer for healing and to get us through this experience.
Yeah, through that process of reaching out to elders in the church and senior ministers, it was quickly obvious that all of our feelings of feeling so alone were because of the misunderstanding and the ignorance that surrounds vaginismus. As I reached out for leadership from church staff and hoping that they would have some kind of answer or tell me what's best, is when we really started to see that the advice that we were getting from not only people within the church, but also obviously with outside of the church, but it surprised us the most inside of the church. But I was told everything from, I was in ministry for 2 years with this congregation as associate minister, and eventually let go due to vaginismus. I was told that I should never be in ministry because technically I either am not married because we hadn't consummated, or I need to get a divorce because of this issue, which would keep me out of ministry also. I heard everything along these lines. Even I was told to, you know, she's my wife, I need to just force her to have sex and get it done and out of the way, whether she likes it or not, which these things were really difficult for me to understand from a Christian worldview. It was just foreign to me to think of hurting her, or think of me not being able to be in ministry. And so my faith, I think our faith both, was really tested and really challenged through this process. And still today, you know, I still have a lot of questions, and I don't know if I'll ever have those answers, but I wonder how we could have done things differently if we would have, what that would have looked like. But I think it was also through some of that, hearing all of those things from the world bombarding us, and me as a husband, I think it really helped me just press more into my wife and relationship, and wanting to know that, you know, we're united in this regardless. This condition didn't define us, and it still does not define us. We found victory in vaginismus, and we ultimately, you know, we found victory because we trusted in God and His guidance through this process. And so it's been hard. It's been hard in many different ways, but you know, I encourage you, as if you're a Christian and you're watching this, and you are reaching out to a church or people that really do not or have never understood vaginismus, that just to be prepared and ready your heart and your mind to hear things that maybe you never thought you would hear. I wasn't prepared for it, so I hope I can encourage you a little bit in that, to be prepared.
And we don't want to discourage people from the church either.
Right. Right.
Like Dustin had mentioned, it really has to do with the ignorance about the condition. They don't know what to do with that information once you present it to them. And so they instantly start thinking of opinions and stuff rather than truly seeking God first, which is what we had to do on our own, it felt like. We did get a lot of encouragement towards the end of coming to WTC, which was really nice. And so if anybody needs any fundraiser ideas, we've got a lot of them for you.
Right.
But yeah, as a woman, it was very hard because a lot of people thought that maybe I was in sin, because I was keeping myself from Dustin, and that was the last thing that I would ever want to do, because I married him to become one with him, to have a family with him, and all of these things. And so, why in the world would I choose to do that? And so I'm grateful that God led us here, and we do believe that He did, and in His timing, and that He's taught us a lot through this experience, brought us closer together, and united us in ways that we may not have been united otherwise. And so we're thankful for that.
I think also, I just wanted to reassure the husbands, me myself being a husband, never hearing of a condition like this, vaginismus, or what this entailed, there was times where I felt very, very alone. She obviously understood it. We were lucky enough and blessed enough to find this therapy clinic where we were obviously able to get cured, but at the same time to get those resources and those answers. So husbands, just know that you're not alone. There's resources, there's places to reach out to other men that have gone through this, because that was, like I said, just the huge amount of not understanding this condition is what led me just down some pretty dark paths the last 3 years. And so also just know that your wife is precious, your wife is special, she's worth waiting for. Whatever she's going through, when you said I do, she's no longer going through it alone, that you're going through it with her. And that's been something that's kept us really close, is that even though all the people were saying whatever they thought was best for us, we knew that we were in this together. And so when I had nowhere to turn, I turned to my wife, and I think vice versa, that she turned to me, and we really tried to encourage one another in this. And ultimately, it was for the goodness of our marriage, but also to give God glory, and ultimately to get her cured. This clinic has opened, avenues and doors for us that we never really thought were possible. In a short time here at the Women's Therapy Center, we experienced more healing than we ever did in the 3 years when we were married. And so we know that this was exactly what we needed. We know that if you're just like us and our story sounds like your story, that this place is what you need. And so we just want to encourage you guys that there's options, there's a cure. You don't have to go through life wondering and scared and thinking of divorce and all these things. There is a cure, and we found it, and we know that you can too.
Yeah. Obviously there's ups and downs throughout going through this condition or this process, but looking at the bigger picture, what really got me through was that Dustin didn't view it as my issue, like it's my problem, and resent me for not being able to do this. And I've heard of many husbands who have, which is very unfortunate, but he really viewed this as our problem, that we're in this together and that we're going to get it treated together. And that has been really, really helpful. And so, yeah, know that you're not broken and that you can become cured, and that it's a real thing, that you're not just going crazy just because no one else can see what's really going on.
And at the same time, there's so much, for us, I know there was a lot of skepticism that surrounded our process and our journey to the Women's Therapy Center. And so I'm sure if you're anything like us, there will be for you as well. With our friends, our families, our own family doctor, there was so much skeptical thinking, and if there's truly that much of a success rate, then you know, that's a little fishy, or something must be wrong. And so, you know, even for me as a husband, I was skeptical. I honestly was for quite a while, until I really sat down and started watching a lot of these videos on YouTube, and that helped me. I realized when I saw the hope in her eyes, and the hope and the awesome testimonies of other couples being cured, that we could too. And so yes, the cost was what we thought, a lot, but I don't know how you put a price on being cured and having a healthy marriage. And so we put all our cards on the table, we laid all the skepticism aside and all the naysayers aside, and we went all in, and we are 100% grateful and satisfied with being here and what we've achieved. So
yeah.
we're cured.